Week 1 is officially in the books. There was a lot of crazy things that definitely happened with this NFL week. A lot of good games, a lot of close games, a lot of comeback wins. It was absolutely insane. But week 2 power rankings is coming at you right now. But if you are brand new, hit that subscribe button because it only takes 2 seconds. I post NFL content. I'm a huge Packer fan. But yeah, let's get into it. Coming in at the number 10 team, last week they were ranked as my number 9 team. We got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos won at home against the Tennessee Titans 20-12 in a very good defensive game. And yeah, Bo Nix did not look too good. His final stats were 25 completions for 40 attempts, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks, along with the fumble loss. So he himself had 3 turnovers, and that's not good against the Titans defense. That's like a mediocre defense at best. RJ Harvey did have a really good game with 6 carries for 70 yards for his NFL debut. In the offense, again, Bo Nix had his struggles, but the running game was pretty good. Only scoring 20 points against the Titans is pretty bad, but the good thing about this Broncos team was that defense. This Broncos defense forced 2 turnovers with fumble loss. They got 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. They had a whole bunch of pressures. This defense was flying all over the place, and they only gave up 12 points, which is 4 field goals. That's pretty good. The Titans' third down efficiency was 2 for 14. That is insane. Going 2 for 14 on third downs is atrocious. This defense was flying all over the place. Like I mentioned, 6 sacks. Granted, it was the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward going into his first game, of course, making his NFL debut, but you could not do any better with that, especially with the Broncos offense. Have some struggling moments here and there for sure. The defense definitely balled out this game, and they did drop 1 down in my power rankings because of that offense, but still a good win against the Titans, going on to number 19. Going up 1 spot in my power rankings from the number 9 team is the Minnesota Vikings, and this game against the Bears was an absolute snoozer for the first half. It took JJ McCarthy to get settled into the game, but he ended up finishing off 13 for 20, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a pick 6, which was not good. I believe it was in the 3rd quarter. Again, the Minnesota Vikings in the first half, it was just atrocious. Oh my goodness. Jordan Mason was their leading rusher with 68 yards on 15 carries. Aaron Jones definitely struggled in this game in the run department with only 23 yards on 8 carries. But he did have that receiving touchdown in the 4th quarter, which was significant because I believe that was a game-winning touchdown. But like I said, this Vikings offense was completely non-existent in the first half. Sort of kind of was ramping things up in the 3rd quarter, and then ended up blowing off the whole complete train or train tracks or whatever in the 4th quarter. This Bears, the Bears are just a joke. The Vikings defense definitely struggled in the 1st quarter, but then in the second, for the 2nd quarter later on, they definitely started making Caleb Williams look really bad, and it definitely showed because yeah, he was all over the place after the 2nd half. But for JJ McCarthy to make his first NFL start, did again really bad in the 1st half, but ended up beating the Chicago Bears and Chicago divisional game on Monday Night Football, scoring 21 points in the 4th quarter is significant for this Vikings team. A division win is a division win, especially on the road to start off the year is really hard. So you got to give the Vikings a lot of credit. The Bears are going to be the Bears because they always suck. But yeah, let's go on to number 18. The number 8 team dropping down a few spots is the Detroit Lions. Man, the Packers made them look like the Lions from a few years ago. You could definitely say that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn is definitely being missed in Detroit right now because this offense was so stagnant for the Lions. The defense definitely had some times where they're struggling, but the offense is the main concern. They only scored 13 points, which the touchdown was in late garbage time mode, basically in the 4th quarter with 2 minutes left. But other than that, this offense did nothing. Jared Goff went 31 for 39 with 225 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. The offensive line gave up 4 sacks. The offensive line was probably one of the worst graded offensive lines this week, giving up over like 10 pressures. The offensive line, like I said, for the running game was atrocious with 2.2 yards per carry with a total of 46 yards rushing with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs as your running back. I mean, come on. This Lions offense was just putrid. And their defense, again, was kind of non-existent too because they didn't record a sack. They only had a few pressures. This defense didn't record a turnover. Like, this team was just a mess, period. Now, granted, it's only week 1. I actually assumed and heavily predicted that the Lions were going to be struggling in the first couple of weeks because all the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators. It's a lot to get used to because it's a whole different change with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. So Lions fans, it definitely sucks to lose against the Packers like this. But I still think you're going to be a really good team this year. But as of right now, I got them as my number 8 team. Going to talk about number 7 right now. The number 7 team staying in their spot from last week in my power rankings will be the Washington Commanders. They ended up beating the Giants 21-6 in basically a snooze fest. But yeah, this defense was definitely humming. Now, the Washington defense didn't create a turnover, but they did pretty good in the run game, stopping the Giants, and also made Russell Wilson look really bad. I mean, it's definitely time for Jackson Dart to start for the Giants, but that's a whole nother topic. But the Commanders' offense was honestly really good. Jaden Daniels went 19 for 30 with 233 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. The running game had 220 yards, including Jaden Daniels with 11 carries for 68 yards. They had over 400 yards of total offense with no turnovers. This offense was doing really good, and this Giants defense is really good. This defensive line is really good. The secondary made a lot of improvements during the offseason. You know, the Giants defense, I thought, at least in my opinion, is a really good defense, like I just mentioned a couple of times. So I give Washington a lot of credit here, but again, offense had a lot of yards, but ended up kind of fizzling out in the red zone. 21-6 against a division opponent is a pretty good start to the year, though, and they got a huge test against the Green Bay Packers coming up on Thursday Night Football, which we'll talk about the Packers in a few minutes. But Washington Commanders staying at the number 7 team, or 7 seed as my number 7 power rankings. Going to number 6. Moving up 2 spots to the number 6 slot will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, winning against the Falcons in a nail-biter. Now, if it wasn't for Younghoe Koo missing a couple of kicks, the Falcons could have possibly won this game. But from the way this game started in the first quarter, it was looking atrocious. But the Buccaneers ended up capitalizing in this game, winning 23-20. Emeka Egbuka is the real deal. Baker Mayfield finished off with 17 completions for 32 attempts, 167 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Baker Mayfield was actually the leading rusher with 39 yards on 5 carries. Bucky Irving had a really bad game, unfortunately, with 14 carries and 37 yards. But like I said, Emeka Egbuka ended up having 2 touchdown catches, one winning the game in the last 2 minutes of the game. He's only a rookie. He's going to be very good. I'm really excited about him. But this Buccaneers defense, they had a lot of concerns here. Now, their rush defense wasn't too bad, giving up 28 carries on 69 yards with a touchdown. So their rush defense was good. But man, their pass defense was not good at all. With 298 yards, no turnovers, and 1 touchdown given up to, I believe it was Bijan Robinson, or Bijan, however you say his name, screen pass. But this defense is a little concerning, I'm not going to lie, but this offense will be a top 3 offense in the league for sure. I think they were better than a couple of teams, like I said, the Commanders and the Lions. So that's why they moved up 2 spots. Buccaneers, good win on the road against the Falcons, your divisional opponent. That's huge beginning of the season. Now, dropping down 3 spots in my power rankings will be the Kansas City Chiefs. The first half was atrocious. Losing Xavier Worthy in the first drive of the game, especially already Rashee Rice being suspended for the first 6 games, was a huge blow for this Chiefs offense. Isaiah Pacheco couldn't really get the game going with 5 carries on 25 attempts. No, 5 carries on 25 yards, I'm so sorry. But Patrick Mahomes definitely had to carry this team in the second half, and he did good, but this defense was just not doing it either. Patrick Mahomes went 24 for 39, 258 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. He got sacked 2 times, but like I said, the Chiefs defense gave up 318 yards, 3 touchdowns against Justin Herbert, which he looked phenomenal in this game, by the way. The Chiefs defense did pretty good in the run game, at least, only giving up 90 yards on 25 attempts. So this Chiefs offense is really concerning me. Travis Kelce looked okay in this game. The receivers being out, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks, but it's not 100% out there yet. But I don't know. Patrick Mahomes can only do so much. They had to drop down because losing against the Chargers like this, where, you know, again, the first half was really, really bad. Still early in the season. It's only week 1, guys. So it's not like the Chiefs can't, you know, capitalize and be back number 1 in power rankings. You never know. But as of right now, they are my number 5 team. Let's go to number 4. Moving up 1 spot from the last week was number 5, now number 4, the Green Bay Packers, and they absolutely deserve to go here. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, the Lions, they looked horrible on offense. That's because of the Packers defense. Micah Parsons only played 45% of the snaps, and he was completely balling out with 3 pressures and a sack. This team had 4 sacks total with 1 interception. This defense was flying all over the place against a very good Lions offense. If you don't have the Packers in your top at least 6 power rankings, you are on something, and I do want it really bad. But Jordan Love was pretty efficient with 16 for 22, 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did not get sacked at all. The rushing game was okay with Josh Jacobs going 19 for 66 with a touchdown. The first half, Josh Jacobs was non-existent, but second half he did a lot better. But this offense didn't really need to do much because the Lions offense was literally doing nothing. This team, like I said, if you don't have them as your top 6 team, you are on something. This Packers team is going to be a complete monster with Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a Packer fan. You know, I'm a little biased, but they deserve to be a top 4. I am so excited for this season, especially this Thursday night football against the Washington Commanders. But yeah, number 3, let's get into it. Losing in such a heartbreaking fashion, the number 3 team, the Baltimore Ravens, like, I watched about 3/4 of this game. I was like, oh, okay, this game's done. You know, Ravens won comfortably. I woke up and the Bills won. Like, what the heck happened? Come on, man. I mean, Lamar Jackson had a really good game. He had 209 yards passing with 2 touchdowns on 14 completions. He also had 70 yards rushing on 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry completely was balling out. 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. But you can have all of those great stats for the first 3 quarters, but in the 4th quarter is really where it matters, and they could not do anything. I do want to mention that Zay Flowers had an amazing game with 143 yards receiving. DeAndre Hopkins had a nice touchdown late in the game. But like I said, this 4th quarter, the Ravens completely disappeared defensively and offensively. Derrick Henry having a fumble, going 3 now a couple of times. And then the defense for the Ravens, I don't know what happened with Jair Alexander, but he was quite literally getting cooked the whole entire last drive. I feel so bad. But Ravens, you're still a very good team, obviously, putting up 40 points against the Bills. Going into their stadium, putting up 40 points is a whole nother story too. But Ravens fans, I know it sucks, I know it hurts, but you guys are going to be completely okay because the Bills are amazing. And speaking of the Bills, they are going to be my number 2 team. Now, both of these defenses, by the way, are definitely a little concerning, giving up 40 points, you know, each 40 to 41 is a, you know, super high scoring game. But Josh Allen, you're just crazy, dude. Josh Allen ended up finishing 33 for 46, 394 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also had 30 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen taking this team, losing by 15 or 16 points going into the 4th quarter. I mean, the defense came clutch when it really mattered in the 4th quarter. Now, the first 3 quarters, we're not going to talk about that because the Ravens were just cooking them. But this 4th quarter, I mean, Josh Allen, this is the reason why he was the MVP last year. Doing this against a good Ravens defense, by the way. They are still a good defense. Man, oh man, this was a crazy game, period. But yeah, when you scored 22 points in the 4th quarter against the Baltimore Ravens, you're definitely going to be over them in the power rankings. That's why they are my number 2 team. And then the number 1 team will be the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they did have a weird game against the Cowboys, and it doesn't help when the first snap of the freaking regular season, Jalen Carter is spitting on dudes. Like, come on, man. Jalen Hurts ended up finishing 19 for 23, 152 yards passing. He also had 62 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. This Cowboys defense, by the way, you already know what we're gonna say, gave up 158 yards on the ground on 38 attempts, which is okay, I guess, but 3 touchdowns. Jerry Jones, come on, man. You gotta mark your words. Like, what is this? But anyways, we're talking about the Eagles right now. The Eagles defense looked honestly pretty sloppy in the first half against the Cowboys. They could not stop the Cowboys at all. But like I said, the second half, they completely shut them out. 0 points in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Yeah, I mean, this Eagles, again, as I mentioned many times in my videos, the number 1 team will be the Super Bowl team until proven otherwise. The Chiefs was my number 1 team last year, obviously, because they won the Super Bowl. But the Eagles, until they completely fall off a cliff, they are going to be number one team, no matter really how they do. If they're winning close games or losing close games, I might have them as a number 1 team. It all depends. So long story short, the Eagles deserve to be number 1. They played good against the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys, didn't do nothing in the second half. But guess what? That's because of the Eagles. But that wraps up this video. If you do like it, hit that like button and comment down below your biggest surprise. If you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm a genius, which I know that's not the case, but I'm out of here. Deuces.